guys, this is the first week of F.A.B, which we are going to be doing videos to celebrate the 2nd year anniversary for the fashion house of F.A.B. Today I will be doing a tutorial on how to thread a machine as well as how to make a bobbin. I am Volencia Simpson, owner of Fiercely Made. I started off as a model, and then from modeling I decided to work for an agency, which was one of the agencies I was signed to, and I did the scouting for them as well as I did some of the modeling training as well as posing, and then I became a boutique owner, and then from being a boutique owner I decided to make my own clothes. So I started off making women clothes, now I make children clothes, and I also have started to make some of the men outerwear. I have been in different fashion shows in the city like Walk, Dream. I've been in the Pink and Gray Affair as well as Styles. It started off with just seeing my grandma make certain stuff, and then I love Project Runway, and so I took like marketing class, like fashion marketing classes in high school. I did do some beginning sewing classes when I was in high school, but they only teach you so much. So I just took that and I read books. Like I always at the library trying to expand on different techniques by reading books. I teach a beginning sewing class, so I think each time I do it, it makes me more familiar with even my own machine sometimes, as well as I do like Sip and Sews events. So for me, sewing has always been like just a fun hobby thing to do, but once I seen it, I could actually make money from doing it, and also just seeing people be happy about the things you make them. Like I have made somebody's wedding dress to their prom dress to maybe even just something they wanted to take on a vacation, whether it was something as small as a swimsuit or like maybe something they was gonna wear at their bachelorette party or whatever it is. I just like being able to see how they feel when they wearing something I make. So alright, well today I will be doing a short beginner's tutorial on how to thread the machine as well as how to make a bobbin. A bobbin is the second thread that helps you make a stitch. So you got to have two pieces, a thread, a spool, as well as what they call a bobbin. I know you guys keep hearing me say bobbin, bobbin, bobbin. What is a bobbin? So when you're sewing and you're making a stitch, it usually takes 2 threads to be able to secure your stitch. The bobbin is the lower thread and the spool of thread is your upper thread. So you have to have a bottom thread and an upper thread so that they can interlock together to make a stitch. So now we're about to make our bobbin. So we need a blank bobbin case and a spool of thread. You're going to take your spool of thread and you're going to place it on your spool pin. And then if you look right here, this little wheel, you see this little turning little wheel thing? They call that the bobbin's tension. You will take it and you have to make like what we would call like a half of a figure 8. So if you pay attention, I went in the front of the wheel, I wrapped it around, and I brought the thread back to the front. See if you look closer to how the thread is. So it went over and around. And then I'm going to take the end of my thread and I'm going to insert it in. If you can see up close, you see those little holes inside the bobbin? I'm going to put my thread, which I need a more cleaner finish of thread, and I'm going to place it in the inside of the upper hole. Place it on my bobbin lever. I'm going to slide it over so that it can lock it. See how it's like locked in place. I'm going to have to press down on my machine to get the bobbin started. You see how it started to wind thread onto the bobbin. So I'm just going to cut this, and then you just let it go, and the machine, once it's full, will stop it from thread. that it's slowing down, that's telling me that the bobbin is full. So I'm just gonna move it back over to the left and take it off and cut the rest of my thread. And that's how you make a bobbin. See, we have a completely full bobbin. And there's one more thing to add on to where our bobbin is supposed to go. On the newer machines, you find them right where the needle is in the presser foot. So you'll just slide this out and put the bobbin in here and just follow the guide to put your thread through. Or you can do it the old-fashioned way, which is usually you would take your spool of thread your machine, and then turn the hand wheel and it pulls up the thread. Older machines, the bobbin is usually found in the lower compartment of the machine. Alright, so we're going to talk about some of the basic parts of a machine. We have what we like to call the hand wheel, which is what you will turn to control your needle to go up and down. And from here, if you look right here where your needle is, you will see as I turn the wheel, it goes up and it goes down. Which also, when I turn, this is little silver piece inside the machine, which is called the take-up lever. It'll make more sense once the actual thread is, once we get to thread in the machine. But this is what helps the thread to go up and down. Then we also have what we call the spool pin, which is where you would take your spool of thread and you would place it onto the spool pin. Now, certain machines, different models, have different placements of these knobs, but they all pretty much have the same knobs. This one, which is the tension, this is what controls the tension. It's usually the button that's found somewhere in the area of where the thread will be. That will determine how loose or how tight you need your stitch to be stitched together. So that's what your tension, that will control your tension. This one right here is usually found somewhere close to the different types of stitching, just because this is what you call the stitch with length knob. This controls how wide your stitch will be. 4 being the widest, 0 being the tightest, the closest, however you want to explain it. But usually between 1F and 0 is for making a buttonhole. And then some newer machines have what we like to call what controls the needle. So it lets the needle go from far left when you go to 5, as well as far right when you go to 0. But most of the time you want to keep it in between 2 and 3 so that it can be equally in the middle of your material. Another important part is called a presser foot. The presser foot is what applies pressure to your material when you're sewing, so it helps it keep it in place. And this is the presser foot level, so you just push it down to apply pressure on it. Now, these are called foots. That's why I said pressure foot. You usually change these if you're making like a button or if you're doing a zipper. You buy different types, but this is just a basic presser foot. For beginners, this is usually the main thing you will use, which is the one that comes with the machine. Some machines come with other foots, but this one is the one you will use for basic sewing. We also have the reverse stitch level.
Level or level?
Okay. Lever. It's the, if you want me to keep on?
Yeah, because I'll cut it out.
Okay. This is the reverse stitch lever, which controls your stitch to be able to back stitch. You have to back stitch everything that you do. So when you start off, you want to back stitch, which is locks the thread, as well as when you finish a stitch, you want to back stitch it. So that's what you use this for. So you'll hold it down. So again, once you sew, you'll sew like probably a 1/2 inch, and you'll hold down this so it can go back over your 1/2 inch, and then you'll let it go. And then based off of your model, some machines let you do different types of stitching, and those are usually controlled by the stitch knob. So for my machine, it says 1 is how you make a buttonhole. So if I was making a buttonhole, I would put it on 1 here, as well as, if you remember, I said when you want to make a buttonhole, you would change this to be anywhere between 1 and 0, and then it will help you stitch a button. But the most common stitch will be your second one, which is just for a straight stitch. And just like the diagram says, it's for zigzag. You have certain stitches for when you're trying to do like different types of edging. If you're making suits, like you just use different stitches for different things. So we're gonna go straight into threading our machine. Since we already have our spool of thread on this spool pen, we're gonna go straight into threading it. So all right, so from the spool of thread, I'm gonna put my thread into what we call the thread guide, which is pretty much just the first little slit from the thread spool pin to here. So that's the first step. But wherever your spool pin is, you always typically will be moving from right to left, and then you'll be going down, which we will call the thread disc, going down there, wrapping it around to the bottom thread guide, back up to, remember I said that take up lever, you want it to be at its highest point. So you'll put the thread through the take up lever, back down. So you see how the thread is locked inside of there. You're gonna go down, and then you're gonna put, each machine has a place where you can put your thread in once you threaded the top of the machine. Mine is here, so I'm just gonna put my thread behind there. And then my next step will be to thread the needle. Since I had this long tail, which is, long tails are good, but for the sake of threading it, I want to make mine a little shorter. And then I'm going to place my thread through the needle. You have to excuse me, I don't have my glasses. So I'm going to put it through the needle, grab the thread, pull it through. And you always want to start with your threads towards the back. But since I haven't pulled up my bobbin thread yet, I'm going to take my hand, I'm going to place it on the hand wheel, and I'm going to turn it until, do a whole complete circle to be able to pull the thread back up. So that means your take up lever should go down and up, one complete cycle. Then I'm going to pull my thread, and you see how it pulled the bobbin thread up as well as the spool thread. So now I have my 2 threads. I'm going to put them towards the back. I'm going to take my case for my bobbin. I'm going to close it, and I'm all ready to sew. So this is the ending of our video, but before I end, I would like to say what we learned today. One thing that we learned was how to make our bobbin. Remember, our bobbin is our lower thread that helps the upper thread, as well as we learned how to thread our machine, which is the first and basic step to learning how to sew. Once you master these things, then you will be able to make fabulous garments. The easy way to find me is, if you want to learn more about my sewing classes, you can either sign up through Groupon, because I do have a special on Groupon, which will go under the sewing classes, and you will look for Fiercely Made, as well as you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and I have a web page that is called fiercelymadesewing.com. If you're interested in contacting me for any of my services, just click the links below, and I hope you be fab.